It's funny how it works, really. How strange it is that I've spent the last 5 years developing these cards, and now the time has finally come to share them. I almost don't know where to begin. I'm all of a tither. For years, this project has mostly existed in here and in here, on this table, in this sketchbook, in notebooks full of ideas that made perfect sense at 2 o'clock in the morning and occasionally looked completely ridiculous by breakfast. Some ideas survived. Quite a few deserved not to. I suppose that's what creating anything original looks like. You don't simply collect ideas, you slowly discover which ones refuse to let you go. I think people often imagine creativity arrives like lightning, one brilliant idea, one perfect afternoon. Well, some of it actually did arrive like that, but the majority of it has been experienced, felt, lived, learned the hard way at times. For me, it looked much more like walking through fog. You take one step, you can see another meter, you take another, eventually you look behind you and realise you've accidentally built something. And today, for the first time, that journey becomes public. Do you know what's been the most fascinating part of all of this? As this project has got closer to existing in the real world, I had to make a decision. Not about the cards, about how they should come into the world, because there are plenty of ways to launch something nowadays. You can chase trends, you can chase algorithms, you can chase investors, but none of these felt quite right with me, and there's no way I'm following a path that feels disconnected to this whole journey. Not because they're wrong, they're simply being built from a different kind of energy, that's all. This project has never been about trends or making false promises. It's always been about making something with enough depth and integrity that someone might still be using them 5, 10, maybe 25 years from now. Over the past few years, something else has become increasingly obvious to me. We don't really have an information problem anymore. We have a discernment problem. Every day there's another opinion, another headline, another expert, another algorithm deciding what we see. Artificial intelligence is evolving at an extraordinary pace. Images are becoming impossible to distinguish from photographs. Voices can be cloned. Entire conversations can be generated. It's remarkable, really. It's also asking something of us. How do we remain deeply human in a world that's becoming increasingly artificial? I've found myself coming back to the same answer. Not more information, better awareness. Not louder opinions, clearer perception. Not finding another authority to follow, but strengthening our own. That's really why these cards exist. They aren't here to predict your future. They're not here to tell you what to believe, and they're certainly not here to replace your own intuition. In many ways, they're designed to do the absolute opposite, to slow you down, to help you notice patterns you couldn't quite see before, to refine your discernment, to strengthen your intuition, to become more aware of the stories running beneath your thinking, and perhaps most importantly, to develop something that's becoming increasingly valuable, which is self-authority. The ability to meet the world without constantly outsourcing your knowing to someone else. Sometimes you spend years making something and eventually realise you aren't releasing it because it's finished, you're releasing it because the moment feels right. And I'm at that point. I genuinely believe we are entering one of the most extraordinary periods humanity has ever experienced. artificial intelligence, biotechnology, exponential change, an overwhelming amount of information arriving faster than any of us can properly process. It's exciting, it really is, but it's also deeply disorientating. And I think that the ability to think clearly, to know ourselves, to distinguish projection from perception, fear from intuition, persuasion from truth, may become one of the most valuable human skills we can develop. That's why I can't leave this sitting in my studio for another 5 years. So today I'm opening the Founders Circle, not because I want people to donate to an idea. I don't. Well, I do, but I don't as well. My intention, true intention, is to invite people into the origin story. There's a massive difference. One of the unexpected joys of building this project has been the conversations it's created. Questions people have asked me, ideas they've challenged, perspectives I hadn't even considered. It reminded me that creativity begins alone, but it shouldn't stay that way. If you decide to become a part of the Founders Circle, you're not simply helping bring these cards into the world. You're stepping into that conversation while it's still unfolding. You'll unlock access to the multiverse, the collection of practices, guided experiences, card trainings, frameworks and explorations I've been quietly building alongside this project for years. Not because they're bonuses, but because they're the foundations beneath everything you're seeing here. It's an opportunity to explore the thinking behind my artwork, my philosophy behind the cards, and the wider body of work long before it's introduced to the public. And I quite like that. It feels less like purchasing something and more like pulling up a chair while the paint is still drying. Of course, there's also a number of limited Founders Circle rewards, original artworks, limited prints, personal readings, one-on-one time together, and the opportunity to have your name acknowledged in the very first guidebook as one of the founding supporters who believed in this project before it officially existed. Not because names need to be printed, because I think beginnings matter. Years from now, I'd love to open that guidebook and remember the people who helped bring this work into the world. The support itself has a very practical purpose. It allows me to complete the remaining original paintings, produce the first edition, finish the guidebook, continue filming the educational content, and build the ecosystem around these cards in a way that I've always imagined. Not rushed, not diluted, done properly. But what excites me most isn't actually printing a deck. It's imagining where these ideas might actually travel. A therapist using them with a client. Someone journaling on a quiet Sunday morning. A family sitting around a table. A meaningful conversation that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Ideas have interesting lives once they leave the creator. Eventually, they stop belonging entirely to the person who made them and begin belonging to everyone they help. That's the future I find myself thinking about. If you've watched these videos, followed my paintings, supported my work, or simply found something meaningful in this little corner of the internet, thank you. You've already played a massive part in bringing this project this far. If this feels like something you'd genuinely like to be part of, I'd love to invite you to visit my website. Take a look around, read the story, explore the vision, see what's included in the Founders Circle, take a look inside the multiverse. Just take your time. And if this resonates with you, I would be honoured to welcome you as one of the founding supporters. When these cards are eventually released, anyone will be able to own a deck. But right now, you have the opportunity to become part of where they actually began. Every original piece of work exists because somebody believed in it before the rest of the world did. I don't know exactly where these cards will eventually end up. I only know that I feel a deep responsibility to bring them into the world right now. I'd love to welcome you in the Founders Circle, so hopefully see you there.